Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. I am so sorry I'm running late. I just did another class. How are y'all doing? What is going on? I want to hear from you. Hold on. Let me see if let me see here. Yeah, there we go. Um, y'all, this is going to be this is gonna be a weekend. It's snowing. I'm looking out my window. It's snowing. I love it. I love snow. I was just talking about energy, frequency, vibration, all of that, which I do in your forecast, and how everything's like atomic, right? Anyway, it just reminded me of that. I hope everyone's doing great. You know, it's a big weekend, right? You know, there's a lot happening this weekend. It's a loaded weekend. We got the new moon in Capricorn. We go straight into Aquarius season. There's so much happening. Do you feel the shift? Are you feeling this big shift in your life? I mean, this is some major energy. So I hope that everybody is just setting intentions, vibrating at that high frequency. It's really strong Capricorn energy. Remember, it's Saturn ruled, so there is a sense of responsibility. There's a sense of structure, discipline, working hard for your goals, your long-term goals. I've been feeling it. And remember, they're all amazing aspects. Please use them. Okay. Mars is in the mix. You're feeling it, aren't you? But also, you're seeing it play out on the world stage. Capricorn would rule like institutions and the old ways of things. I talked about this in your forecast. But here, I'm going to talk about the current energies as I always do. They're strong. You know that. They're really strong astrologically, but also globally. Yeah, you're feeling it. You see the headlines, you're feeling it. And so remember that the Great Reset is a month away. Saturn conjunct Neptune. Just with the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius happening right then, right? 3 days before. And there's other aspects too that I'm doing your February forecast. I'm going to surprise you, but let's just say it is a packed, like 4-day period that's happening with the Saturn Neptune conjunction and the eclipse. And then, we go straight into Mercury retrograde. So, I'm going to talk about that in your forecast, but I hope everybody's doing well. It's so great to see you. So I over at greatawakener.com, I did my top 10 predictions for 2026. And there's so much happening and there was so much that I downloaded, so much in my notebooks. As you know, I don't talk a lot about them. Remember, there's certain things that you can't really talk about here on YouTube, but yeah, there's a lot that we talk about there. So where I can speak more freely, but why don't I go ahead and give you my top 10 predictions for 2026. And here's the thing. I try to avoid the things that are just going to be, obvious. I try to avoid and there's a couple things that I predicted in 2025 that haven't happened yet, and they will happen. You're seeing it happen. Okay. And so if you let's do this, okay? 2026, by the way, is a game-changing year, all right? And a lot of cycles are just converging right now as well, over a dozen cycles, historical cycles, um, geophysical cycles, uh, geopolitical cycles, astrological cycles. We're in the year of one. We're in the year of the fire horse. Everything is moving into masculine signs. Everything's moving into fire and air. So you already know this. But astrology aside, and if you are new to my channel, because I do get a lot of questions, I don't think a lot of people know that I am, psychic. And I know that's a term. I got to use a different word because I think that maybe clairvoyant. I have no idea. Anyway, so astrology would be forecasting, right? It's not predictions. So it's all math. It's all based on historical patterns. And that's how astrology works. Aspects in the sky, you see what happened, where, how the planets were connecting during certain events in the past. You look at the orbits of the planets. Anyway, this is different. This is me with my journals, right? When I go into my state and I have my visions. And so there's a couple things that I feel are going to be pretty significant. And if, again, you are new to my channel, there's a lot of things that I predicted throughout 2025. And usually I post them on Instagram or X or even here just for the receipts, just so you know that I did say it. But I just haven't had time. I think that y'all know it's been a couple months for me. But one of the main things was, I think maybe it was gold. I, said 4.44 back in June. Okay, back in June 2025. And the very first mention of gold, and you can Google this, even remotely going to 4,000 was in September. And then it actually hit 4,000 in October. It hit 4.4 in December. And now the price is rising, of gold. That would be one thing. Some recent things were the fire that I saw and the fires that happened. Yantar, Russia spy ship. I saw that. I actually have it open on this page. On August 23rd, I didn't know what it was. I saw a ship, submarines, all of that. I had to do some research. And I think it was 2 weeks later, the Financial Times broke a story on the spy ship. But anyway, that's just some background, right? And there's a lot more. I think they're all in some of these live streams too. But all right, let's do a countdown. All right, you ready for this? Number one prediction is one that I had already made, and this one's a little interesting. It's the earthquake in the Pacific, the Ring of Fire, the megaquake. And so I made that prediction way back in 2024, the end of 2024. And as we know, and it kept coming up because I can actually see the events. I can feel certain feelings as well. And this is part of the prediction where I did say that I saw water over the entire West Coast. If you want to call it tsunami, you can call it tsunami. And so we know that there was 8.8 earthquake in July, and it was in June where I saw the cracks. I'm like, okay. And I gave the dates of July 3rd to the 8th. And I said, okay, well, yeah, I think it's happening soon. And so it happened July 29th. When it happened, I did say that something's off about this earthquake. This is not it. And if you know, you know what I said, what I said about that earthquake, why it was off. And that, to my knowledge, it was a manga artist and me. We were the only ones, I think, I'm not sure, but we did predict this one. And it was even at a time where even seismologists and earthquake experts, it wasn't even on their radar. And I can give you 5 reasons why this 8.8 earthquake was not normal. And so it's all in Great Awakener. But that one wasn't it. And so there will be another one. Okay? In the Ring of Fire. And I did actually, I think I can show it to you here. I'll just show you this. I'm going to show you an image. I did this slide and I pulled up this picture that I created. And so this is a presentation that I did on greatawakener.com. And that was my number one prediction. And then I showed some receipts here. If you look at a lot of these countries that have had a lot of swarms and earthquake activity, seismic activity, again, I'm not an earthquake expert, but I also put the sources of where I get this information, and it's like the USGS, etc. But I added the ones on these are, I've said a lot of these separately in previous live streams, but I added ones that recently happened. There was the one in Taiwan on December 29th. Japan had those really big ones when they put out the announcement of the mega quake, all right, a public announcement that, you know, possible mega quake, right? There was the one in Alaska that was, 7 magnitude. There was the one in Mexico. So you see, they're all happening around here. And again, I predicted this back in August or September 2024, but then it just kept coming up and it kept coming up. And so I think that there will, and I think there was a big one recently in Oregon, right? So you're seeing this play out. Yeah, you're seeing this play out. And so that is my first, that's my first prediction, is that there will be one. And listen, this isn't to like, a fear monger or anything like that. It's nature, and this is just a big one. And so I always say, now that you know, now that you have this in your consciousness, what would you do to prepare? What would you do to, stay safe? So just keep that in mind. It's more about preparation and making sure that you are safe. Okay. My second prediction is there's going to be this year a lot of unusual weather events. I know that there has been some recently. And as you know, if you're a subscriber, I predicted a lot of them recently and in the past year. But a lot of them are not going to be natural as well. And so that is something that you're going to see a little bit more in 2026. Okay. And it does include flooding and a lot of flooding, cyclones as well. I saw. I did see. Oh, there's something else. It's part of another category, but but just know that there is going to be some weather events where eyebrows are going to be raised. All right, that'd be number 2. And let me know if you have any questions about any of these. Now, number 3, as you know, if you saw my last live streams, I was taken underwater a lot when I was channeling, when I was remote viewing. And in my notebooks, I think that you know this. I've talked about this on this channel. This was over the summer last year where I would see orcas. I would see killer whales. I would see a lot of that. And then I just had to connect the dots. Like, why am I seeing this, Russian spy ship? Why am I seeing these killer whales? Why am I seeing these orcas? Why am I being taken underwater? Why do I see what I describe as a black hole underwater? There's no other way to describe it. And so just doing some research and finding out there have been more incidents with these creatures, these beautiful sea creatures, hitting boats, trying to get people's attention, hitting boats. The most in recorded history outside of Portugal. And so I had to do a little bit more digging, and I found out that area is the biggest concentration of underwater military activity. And so that's where they're testing new weapons that have certain frequencies that may, have an impact on these beautiful creatures. And so it is a place where, let's say, spy ships with submersibles are going, cutting cable cords, which again, that was a prediction that I made back in 2024 and it happened in 2025, early 2025. But that is one of my predictions, is that when you look at what's happening, I predicted this, I think it was back in August or September. I said that the war is going to be underwater. There's going to be an underwater war. It's going to be on water. And so just letting you know that, okay, that is what I saw. And now, as of January 17th, you see it playing out. You see a lot that's happening with battleships and warships and naval military stuff. So again, I'm not like a war expert. I don't know the names of these boats, but after everything that I've seen, I can confidently say that it will start underwater, or there's going to be a lot of underwater activity, but also on top of water. And and that place where I was telling you where the military bases are that are underwater, that's like a fact. That's like, everybody knows that. And I didn't know that. Remember, I don't look, and it's just things that I see and that I write down, and a lot of things that I have to, let's say, like, decode. But when you think about what's happening right now in the news with the naval drills that are happening, with a lot of, I think that we spent trillions on new submarines and warships and things like that. We had another situation with cable cords being cut. That can disrupt a country's infrastructure, their technology, their internet, things like that. And there's, let's just call it like a choke point in water. So you actually, and by the way, yeah, that's where trade happens. Global trade is on the seas, and you're seeing the, disruption in supplies. So when you start seeing a lot of the naval ships go out to sea, which happened recently with one of ours over to, the other part of the world, then that may have implications. So again, that prediction that I made, so this water war, it's already becoming, you're starting to see things happen, okay? And I think that it was this year that the US government spent 11 billion, actually, 11 billion, for 2 submarines. Yeah, 2 Virginia class submarines, and that's a lot of money when you know that we're 38 trillion in debt. And then China, actually had expanded their navy. And these are just things that I just like, I'm Googling or I'm chat GBTing or I'm doing this. I'm just like, okay. Or it comes up in my news feeds. So I'm like, okay, well, this is happening. So it's something that is just to be mindful of. Okay. Because I did see some activity over the waters, over the seas, and a lot under. Okay. A lot under. And one of the reasons why I believe that y'all know, I don't think a lot of people from the government have actually spoken openly about this, like the direct energy weapons and whatnot. And so a lot of that I've seen is these tests for them and building them and whatnot is underwater. Yeah. Okay. Now, prediction number, where are we? Was that, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that was number 3. 4. Um, and this is something that I predicted last year as well, but it just came on really strong because it's going to change everything. Remember, everything's changing in 2026. 2025 was the preview. So 2026, prediction number 4. I should actually do banners. Danny, are you here? I don't know. Anyway, I don't think so. Let me just see here. Yeah, why don't I do that? Why don't I give you some banners? So okay. So I think that number 4, the prediction that I made was well, let's do a recap here. That was number 1. And number 2, this is number 2. And then let me give you number 3. There we go. And by the way, again, I think that y'all know that even astrologically, there are so many things, so many aspects, transits, that when you do the math of it, right, with Uranus and Gemini, with Neptune in Aries, with just Pluto and Aquarius, there's so many things that when you do the math, it's there. These planets were in these signs the last time, 84 years ago, 164 years ago, 250 years ago, and those all overlapped, wars. So it is a different time, though. I explained that. Like, if you think about that, like, they didn't have the internet. We live in a very different world. So I'm not saying that it's going to be, all right. But you do see some things building up. So with that said, this was my prediction number 4. And this just came up really strongly. I predicted this back in December 2024. And at the minute that I did, I think it was South Korea's president, did that whole thing with martial law. And then a few weeks later, Justin Trudeau stepped down. And then even when we think about world leaders, the Pope passed. So there's a lot of people in the past month who have stepped down, who have announced they're stepping down. And so it was just, and this was after I did my, it was during when I did my, on greatawakener.com when I was doing this, with the slides, but it's gonna be, one thing that I predicted was, Prince Charles becoming king soon. Okay. I also predicted there's going to be a different president here in the US this year. I also predicted a lot of the senators in the government are not going to be, they're not going to run this year. So there's going to be a lot of turnover. And again, you're already seeing it with what happened recently in Venezuela. You're already seeing it. There's so much change in leaders, right? The good news is you're going to see, even here in New York City, the new mayor, but you're going to see more younger ones. And this, I feel like, is going to be more like spring, but either way, that's going to change a lot of things, okay? Because it's not going to be these, like older people who have been in their position for decades. Yeah. So that'll bring change. Now, I love how my name is on that's how much I don't know how to do these things. Anyway, my fourth, oh wait, no, that was for my fifth prediction. Okay. And again, this is something that it was, if you're a subscriber, this was my very first prediction in August 2024. And you started to see changes in 2025, but this is the year, okay? And so, yeah, this is something that I already predicted the gold, right? I also, in 2024, I said, I saw money burning, paper, like dollar bills burning. I said there's going to be some changes with the currency. There's going to be changes with the economy. And there's going to, be some changes that will, let's just say, you are seeing it. You're seeing all these countries buy gold. You see the US dollar weakening. And so I'm not saying it's going to be like this global financial collapse. What I am saying is it's a good idea to get some assets, physical assets, because when I said there's something about currency that's going to change at the end of 2024, and the Genius Act was put into law in June or July 2025, and then you see what's happening with the Federal Reserve. You see that we are historically at the highest we have been in terms of debt in the US, right? Trade wars are happening. So you're already seeing everything fall into place for the prediction that I made in 2024. And this is a process, right? It will be in 2026. Well, there's going to be some changes. All right. Again, now that you know, prepare. And when I say prepare, one thing that I do in Great Awakener, I go on every Sunday and I give them, all the members, advice. And I think I gave y'all the example that when I saw this in 2024, I started buying gold, physical gold. So instead, and this is something you can do, instead of putting your money into savings, into a high yield savings or whatnot, put it into physical gold. It's a hedge. It's a hedge. Okay. Or silver. Silver hit historic records. I think it's at $90. That's crazy. When I was buying gold and silver, physical gold, for the first time in my life, I didn't know what I was doing. Um, Gold was what, 3,000, and silver was like $30 or something, or $30. And so you see the price of silver tripled. And so gold keeps its value. It survives. No one controls that, right? It's not part of like the Federal Reserve. It's just the Federal Reserve will continue to print money. And as you know, that's not great, because if they're going to do that, I mean, it's just inflation, and the minimum wage doesn't go up at all. And you know that everything is connected. It's the fact that unemployment is rising. It's the fact that there are these tariff wars. It's the fact that, you know, there's going to be changes with the Federal Reserve. Um, I told you, I think last month, when we had the government shutdown, I predicted that too. That started in October. Someone asked me, when is it going to end? I said, it's going to go through December. And it ended, I think, November 8th, but it didn't. It was a stopgap. And so they haven't decided on the budget, and they have until, January 26th. So if they don't decide, that's another government shutdown. So just have a hedge. Yeah. The biggest thing is, the reason why gold is rising in price is because confidence in fiat currency is gone, right? And silver moves when the system needs the metal to keep the future running. So it's a good idea. And someone asked me last week, well, I think it's too late for me to buy it. No, it's not. It's gonna keep rising, and it's a hedge, right? And so one thing that I'm going to talk about in Great Awakener tomorrow is the Dodds Act. I'm not sure if y'all know about that, but when we had the big, financial collapse in 2008, there was the big bank bailout, right? Well, the Frank Dodds Act was signed, and I think it was 2010. It was under Obama. And so it would be the bail-in if anything happened. So just keep that in mind. Now, number 6. Let's do this. Let me know if you have any questions. Number 6. And this is kind of crazy that this is just okay, so this was part of my predictions that I did, weeks ago, right? So on greatawakener.com, cyber war and cloud vulnerability. And when I say that, you are seeing an indescribable surge in online scams and phishing and credential theft. And then I think that I even made gave a personal example of, like, I had so many cases of fraud in so many different ways, in, online, in person, and, like, oh my gosh, what? And there were so many messages y'all left about the same thing. But that's the thing. Technology, the rise of AI, everything's becoming a lot more sophisticated, okay, for these to happen. And you saw recently AWS, right? Amazon, Microsoft, Cloudflare, ChatGPT, X, for the second time too, just, over the weekend, all down. They all went down. And a lot of websites rely on AWS, actually majority of, right? Um, and so the fact that that happened, and then I made my, I had this prediction. Um, Back in April, I had written down in my notebooks a mechanical system outage. And so you can actually go back to that live stream. Yeah. But wow. And so I said there's going to be some outages. And I even said blackouts. What happened recently this past Wednesday? Oh, I was out walking Ruby. My phone wasn't working. I'm like, oh, this is weird. It was the Verizon outage. It was all day long in across America. And yes, it was okay, which I'll talk about tomorrow on Great Awakener, but um, you're going to see more. And so, again, I made this prediction in December. I did the presentation. I had the words came mechanical system outage came up back in April or earlier last year. So I saw it. I saw all these things happen. And then you just saw literally all these outages. And even the blackouts are happening. Even, just, I think it was, there was, you can, in the internet in, the Middle East, like they just took it out. And so there's going to be more. Okay. There's going to be a lot more. And so there's been, I would say, what this showed us with the AWS outage, the Microsoft, even Cloudflare, what this showed us is that the world actually depends on this small number of providers. Yeah. You can even think of Starlink, Elon Musk, and then there's just a handful others, right? That's what I'm saying is that even last year, I think there was that one company that does like security, internet security, or I don't remember what it was called, but they had an outage and everything was messed up. So there's going to be more this year, bigger, louder, longer, and this does include blackouts. I've talked about this. Yeah. There's going to be some vulnerabilities, and it is a lot of different reasons why. But one thing that I would recommend is this: if you have things that you need that's in the cloud, put it on a hard drive just in case. That's all. That's all. All right. That's all. So um, it's a good idea to do that. Now, um, one of the reasons why this is, and that's the other thing, what would you do now that you know? Now that you know, and remember earlier this in 2025, I did predict the blackout that Spain, yeah. And I said, now that you know this can happen anywhere in the world, what would you do if you didn't have electricity for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days? Yeah. So it's all about preparing just in case. Just in case. I have solar panels. I have a small generator that I got at Walmart for like $100 or that's the thing. Just you never know. I lived through the blackout in New York City when that happened. Oh my God, that was so long ago, but I think I told the story of that. It was not fun. It was not fun. So anyway, um, you have to just understand like the implications, not only for you, but what could happen if that happened again. I mean, how is it just the fact that AWS had that outage? That is hundreds of thousands of websites that were down, including mine, just down. And so hey, what if it happened with a banking system? What if it happened with like, healthcare system or, so that's what I'm saying. Just be prepared. Now, number 7, I'm going to write it here because this is a long one. And they all kind of, mm, they kind of go in theme together, but you'll see. Number 7 would be 2026. You are going to see a lot of revolutions, protests, UAPs, and whistleblowers. And yes, I did say UAPs. So this is the year. And I did predict this last year, but again, it's growing. You can go to my old live streams. I've talked about this. And just recently, you see them happening all over the world, all these little, revolutions and revolts and mass protests. They're even happening here in the US for a number of reasons. And you know why. Okay. And yes, they are all anti establishment. People don't want to be controlled. They're reaching this boiling point. Yeah, over laws. People in the UK are getting arrested for social media posts. People over here and over here and over here and over that, right? But again, this is going to kind of go out of hand. So just be mindful if you attend any of these, and if you just be mindful that just be, protected and, make sure that, first of all, the best thing to do is don't doom scroll. Okay. I told you that social media is changing. I gave you the data that 20 to 40% of the profiles on X are bots. Okay. They're trying to, what's called, I think, rage baiting is the term. And that's actual data. That's literally Elon Musk saying, oh, I just found 20% of the profiles on, Twitter are bots. What are you going to do about it? But then there's data that shows it's increased. So don't do doom scroll, trust your intuition. That helps. I talked about the pineal gland just an hour ago. All right. Really just, try not to get emotionally invested unless it's something that you truly, truly stand for. Be smart about it, right? If you're traveling, avoid flashpoint zones, have backup routes. When you trust your intuition, you're going to be fine. Yeah. But that is something that you're going to see. And because there's also, and it's for the good, by the way. So let's start with the revolutions and protests. They always were for a good cause. It was for the people. And then remember, actually, that's happening anyway, astrologically, with Pluto in Aquarius, right? Power to the people. And Aquarius is rebellion. It's, radical change. It's revolution. It's all of that. And so, you're going to see a lot of that grow a lot more, and you're going to see a lot of good come out of it. Like, look at what happened in Nepal, what they're calling like the Gen Z rise or something like that, where, oh, that was a big protest, but look at what happened. That was amazing. It was beautiful. They did it, and it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a good way to do it. This is the year of whistleblowers and disclosure, and I said that last year. This is something that, remember how I said institutions and people that are maybe, politicians or whatnot, like, they just do not care anymore. They will say the things that they've been hiding. They just don't care. All right. They're not trying to hide anything anymore. And so it's the same thing with whistleblowers. They are so, like, even on this channel on YouTube, and I'm sure you've seen other content creators talk about this, on how it's being enforced a lot more in terms of what you can talk about and the topics that you can talk about, and you can be deplatformed, you can be demonetized, all of that. But people don't care anymore. Whistleblowers, they're coming out loud and proud, and they don't they've reached a point like, I don't care if people know this is me, that yeah, I did work in, the secret space program for 20 years. This is what's happening. Or I worked over here and this is what's happening. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of that happening. Um, and a lot of people are waking up. Remember, this is the year of the Great Awakening. People are waking up. I did say that, even with, I think that people want to know that they just people want accountability, and they want transparency, and they're getting it, and they're not liking what they see, and they're not liking the fact that one person can say every 8 billion people on this planet are going to do digital IDs. We're going to track everything that you buy. Like, people are just, they're like, STFU. And people are just getting, I guess, energized about things that, again, institutions may not be very truthful about, certain files and other things, promises broken. You're going to see a lot of people not take that in a good way and rise up. But again, there's a good way to do it. All right. But it is also, remember, Saturn and Neptune conjuncting in Aries, right? The rise of the spiritual warrior, the new ones, right? The compassionate, visionary leaders. You're going to see changes. Now, number 9. This has a lot to do with what I just said, but just letting you know, there is, oh, wait, did I? Oh, yeah. Oh, 8, sorry. Number 8. Okay, so there we go. Number 8, 2026 is going to be a year of a lot of misinformation and a lot of information overload. Okay. There's a way to, when people are distracted, it's easier to control them, right? And so there will be a lot of misinformation. I just told you, 20 to 40% of accounts on X are bots, and a lot of people are just giving out misinformation anyway. Like, they just don't care whether it is, I don't know, an influencer, non-influencer. They just want clicks. But then there are those who will just blatantly lie about certain things that you know about, okay? But also AI, the rise of AI. You're seeing videos that are generated by AI. You're seeing fake articles. And again, remember, there's so many bot farms in different parts of the world where they do this. You know, and they're flooding the platforms. You're probably seeing a lot of AI content in your YouTube feed. So anyway, that's one thing. I think that you've seen that a lot of the leaders that we have today are, you know, deceptive. I, talked about coyote, right? And so there is this erosion of public trust in authority. And that is, clearly you can see that, but there's data that proves it. Okay. There's so much data that proves it. And I think, again, a lot of people are waking up, even with, media as well. I'd say, like, just media sources. There's just so much distrust. And so I told you social media is going to change. I remember last year I got a lot of, like, troll comments from people that were not happy that I was, vague about certain things, but I was like, I have to. And now you're literally seeing content creators edit themselves in every video. They're saying, "Oh, I have to use code words or I can't say this." It is a reality. It's a reality. You're seeing people publicly say, "Oh, that last video I did, I don't know, I got demonetized or whatever, I got suspended," or you're seeing it. You're seeing content creators saying they're leaving social media because they can't speak freely. So there will be some algorithm changes. Social media may prove to be a little bit unstable moving into this year. All right. And when I say information overload, there's going to be a lot happening. There's going to be a lot of information, a lot of misinformation. Try not to be glued to your phones. Try not to be glued to your phones. That's all. Okay. Because you're taking away from your time. Okay. And all of that is just going to distract you. Take time for you, have your moments, do some breath work, go spend time in nature with your dog. And yeah, it just, when you trust your intuition, you will be able to discern what's real and what's not. All right. And I think, yeah, it was last week. I showed a video clip and it's trending. There was this video clip of a cop in New York City yelling at, I think it was ICE officers, or I don't know what they're called, agents, but, and that went viral. But then people saw that someone pointed out that it was AI generated. You saw, if you really looked at the badge, it was like in Cyrillic. It was just all these things that, so, but it looked really real. It looked really real. Okay. Um, and then the last one, okay. I think, wait, no, number 9. Okay. I think you're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. Consciousness expansion and new realities. Listen, remember, 70% of what we know are theories, right? And a lot, it just everything. It's just a lot that has to do with space, physics, metaphysics. A lot of the knowledge from ancient civilizations were lost or taken, right? They're under the Vatican. Or we have it. So consciousness, I think that we have been trained to believe it's up here. I always say 10% is consciousness. But when I say that, I always have to be mindful of what I say, but consciousness is everywhere. And we're tapping into it with that, with our pineal glands. But anyway, energy, it's all energy. Consciousness is energy. And I think that there's going to be so much reports coming out, and they already are. You're already seeing it. You can Google it. There's new discoveries and advancements with consciousness and what scientists believe it is. But I think that there is going to be this really big expansion. And that's why I think that it will help people. It helps people become more aware. It connects us. It reminds us that we are a collective, that we are human beings, that there shouldn't be this, always not, there's always left, right, like this, that. So I think that it's going to be a time where, yeah, 2026 is a year that a lot of that's going to change. And I think that there is going to be this rise of consciousness, but there has to be this effort in people rising in terms of their energy and their frequency. Yeah. And that creates that new reality. Okay. And I think that people will understand it. I feel like when you get to that point, even when we get to the end of the year, I think there is going to be this really strong awareness in terms of consciousness, people being a lot more intuitive, having more, I've been saying telepathic, but psychic abilities, being aware of like time perception as well. You know, when you're having so much fun and you just lose track of time, things like that. Like there will be this strong awareness outside of our five senses, you know? So it is something to look forward to. Yeah. And that was number 9. I feel like I missed one, but I can give you one more here for number 10. Um yeah, let me do this. And I think that this was that's that was my last prediction. I don't think people can hide anymore. I don't think that people can hide anymore. And I think that, there are a lot of big, trials that are happening in 2026, but I think that there will be justice. I don't think that people can hide anymore. I don't think it'll be allowed. And I think that this lends to a lot of what my prediction for the revolutions and revolts and protests are. Okay. And so we know a lot of names that have been come up for trials for 2026, big ones. And yeah, so I think that there will be accountability. Oh, and also remember when I was saying with my seventh, I think it was seventh prediction 7 with the revolutions and protests, the UAPs. Yes, UAPs. A lot of disclosure and a lot of whistleblowers coming out around that. But there's a lot of things I've seen. And remember, I do remote viewing, and there's things that I've seen. I'm like, oh, this is likely going to be the year. And it's not like they're already everywhere, right? We only live in a 3D world. We know that there are more dimensions all around us, right? So they're already here. I think everyone's awake to know that, but it's not the way that they're not like what you think. Like people think of, aliens and things like that. No. So I think there will be more of a connection that people will have. Okay. I think there's going to be a connection. And people are going to see. All right. And it's going to be on a spiritual level, but I think that people are going to be able to have the experiences that I've had where I've been able to channel, where I've been able to communicate. And so that is going to be a thing. All right. I think there will be big disclosure. And I think that you will discover that a lot of our history was changed. And a lot of things were, if you think about some of the biggest themes, whether it's politics or religion or, you know what I mean? Like they're all man made. But again, I think that there are going to be some significant disclosures around UAPs. All right. Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions? Those were ding, 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 my top 10 predictions of 2026. Oh my gosh. I woke up so late. I was up so late last night doing research and working on your forecast. Just to give you a little preview, and I know I'm doing the forecast for or no, the February 2026 astrology overview tomorrow, but just to give you a little bit of a heads up, yeah, it is a Saturn Neptune conjunction. I'm not going to downplay it. That's it's never happened in, like, no civilization has ever experienced it. that we know of, right? So it hasn't happened in the past 12,000 years, is what I'm saying. I'm sorry, in Aries at the 0 degree point, which is what makes it rare. Okay. The beginning of the beginning, the Aries vortex, the world axis. But then also, we move into eclipse season. We have Mercury retrograde. We have so much happening, but there's something that is also happening. There is a concentration of aspects. I've never seen anything like this with only three, with like three, let's just call them like heavenly bodies. All right. One being a planet, one being an asteroid, one being a node. And so you can't, like I always say, coincidence is a wink from the universe. And what's happening in February, it just feels like it was orchestrated. I've talked about this cosmic symphony, and you'll see when I talk about it, but it is like February's like, it's like emotionally moving. There's so much compassion and love, and it is, it almost, when you know what's happening, when you see the orchestration, when you see the math, when you see the sacred geometry, it almost brings it, like could bring you to tears. It's very interesting, but I'll talk about it tomorrow, and obviously in your weekly or in your monthly forecast too. Yeah. Okay, y'all. It's snowing so much. It's so crazy. I have never seen this much snow out my window. I love it. I wish I could show you, but um it's really snowing here in New York. Does anybody have any questions? Marshall? um let me see. Yes, for my journals. I gotta give them a name. I call them my notebooks or my journals. I was gonna call them like the archives or something like that. Yeah. When there that was underseeing. Hello, Terry from Toronto. Toronto. Um yeah, so even if, yeah, Marshall, thank you so much for this. This is a good recap. Um and a lot of it is like I had to just, and I think that I think I mentioned this, like if you're psychic, you can like sometimes we get I don't want to talk some, okay, so for me, which a lot of it happens for other psychics, where we will get visions, we will get, just we'll see things. And for me, sometimes I can clearly see what's happening, or I can clearly see whatever it is. Sometimes I get a year, sometimes I get a date, sometimes I get a visual, sometimes I get a, like, it just depends. Sometimes they just come really, really fast. And that's why you see so much scribbling in some of these pages, but sometimes they come to like here, right? You can see me just scribbling. They're just coming way too fast, way too fast. But then sometimes like that, I can just sit there and see it and watch it. And that was the one about the submarine, the ship. And this was in August 23rd. Um, shipped around. And of course, I don't know what that is. I don't know that I'm looking at a Russian spy ship. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, but I do get years too. I got 1869. So when Financial Times did that story on Yantar or whatever it's called, that Russian spy ship, and they're cutting a lot of underwater cables. Then that came out, I think, like 2 weeks later after this, or maybe it was 3 weeks later. But that's when I was like, oh, well, that's it. Because I wrote the submarine as well as what I saw. And I was like, it's a ship, submarine. And it turned out it's a spy ship that has submersibles, which are these other smaller, submarines that eject out of it. and go under the sea. That can cut the cords or whatever. And the other way is like I wrote down 1869. I don't know why. It was like, what is going on here? That could mean anything. But once that happened, I was like, oh, that's what it is. Because I've been, you know, given all the information about the cords being cut and the things I've been taken underwater so much. And 1869 is when Russia started building their very first official warship or spy ship or something like that. So anyway, and that's why I'm like, okay, well, that connects, right? Um SP 12 8. Hi. You said you feel overwhelmed even when tapping into your intuition lately. Like it's a lot, big energies, feeling like there's a lot of intuitive messages. How can I calm it and get more clear? Like you just missed my intuition class. And I talked about this and what you can do, because remember, when I say everything is energy, like I talk about like I go really deep. I give you the science of it, and this was actually a two-part um uh class or session. But what you can do is there are a lot of energies around us. Okay, a lot of different energies. Remember, they that can have an impact on you, whether it is you like reading the news or watching the news, whether it is, Wi-Fi is frequencies, right? So that's energy. There's so many different energies. You get energies from the solar flares. We actually, what is it today? Saturday? Yeah, you're probably feeling the impact of, we just had a big solar wind, solar storm. There could have been some, and so of course that affects, our magnetosphere, and we feel the energy of that. It's really strong, and we are still at solar peak maximum. I think this is, but it's going to wane after a few months. And so there can feel, yeah, you can have this restless feeling. So it also, a lot of it has to do with the moon cycle, like where your moon is, like how the moon is connecting with your moon, your natal moon in your chart, and other planets. But this overwhelming feeling, calming it, the very first thing is taking a deep breath. That's all you have to do, and that does wonders. And secondly, I was giving exercises and, some things that people can do. And another thing that you can do if you feel like energy is overwhelming, or if you feel like there's some negative energy around you, clap 3 times. It disturbs that frequency. Okay. And it can be very calming for you. I feel like there's a lot of calming, essential oils as well. And um, just, meditation. Sometimes I will put like a crystal quartz on my forehead, like right on the pineal gland, when I'm, just having a moment, when I'm meditating or laying with my dog. Sometimes I'll do that. It's calming for me. So hopefully that's helpful. Um, yeah, because I know that energy can be scattered, and I know that there is going to be some overwhelming energies that you may feel. And again, a lot of that is just a mix of everything that I just told you, right? With what's happening in current events, what's happening geophysically, what's happening with just, what already exists in our world. And so, yeah, it can be, but hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. Okay, good. So yes, I just did I just finished it. So it was part two on like energy, frequency, vibrations, crystals. Sound is perfect. We talked about bells. Yeah, how they were all removed. Sound, like bells were used like from the ancient times until the pickles took over. They're all removed from cities. They set the tone. Sound, as you know, is healing. Certain frequencies in sound, 432 hertz, would be very healing and calming for you. You know, and hemisync as well. Hemisync, okay. You're a Virgo, Aries rising. Oh well, you're a Pisces moon. Okay, well that makes sense. You're okay. So being a Pisces moon, yeah, I think that could be. I mean, we're about to move into Pisces season next month, right? So just you're gonna have a lot of activity with a lot of planets on your moon, a lot of planets on your moon, but also with Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. I remember the South Node is still in Virgo. There's going to be a lot of North Node activations, but you are going through your reverse nodal right now. Then, if you're Virgo, oh wait, I'm sorry, no, you're not, but you're just actually impacted strongly. Oh yeah, you want to be past the Virgo South Node. Oh my gosh, I'm a Virgo moon. I get it. These, you know. So, okay, I gotta go. I have to eat. I'm so hungry. I want to go play in the snow. I don't know if you can see Ruby. Oh, wait, where's she? Yeah. You can't see. Well, she's right here, but you can't ever see her, but I gotta take her out too. She loves the snow. I can't believe there's so much snow. I was having this conversation, and maybe this is like a wink from the universe with a friend recently. And I've been in New York City a long time. And we were talking about how, you know, even just 10 years ago, there would just be days and weeks of snow and snow. And back when it was like really cold. And just the past few years, it would snow like maybe a day or two or three out of the entire year, like consecutive. Like there were just it just never snowed. And so it did snow, I think 2 weeks ago, right around the holidays. And that was great. And now just seeing all this, wow, it's amazing. But it also means that the bagel that I was gonna, you know, go get, there's probably gonna anyway. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out, y'all. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Y'all are amazing. And hopefully that was helpful. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Remember, huge weekend, set intentions, get crystals, energy. That's energy. Remember, I mean, ancients used to wear them. There's so much power in crystals. But it's all about your intentions. Okay. Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. I will see you very soon. I'm going to be working on your forecast. All right. Bye, everybody. Happy weekend. Happy Saturday. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.